The champagne popped. They didn't pour me a glass. It was 7:42 p.m. when the room rose to clink flutes, the kind of sound that feels warm if you belong and hollow if you don't. My daughter-in-law stood, smiling wide, announcing Hawaii like it was a gift she was handing out. "Next week, whole family," she said. Cheers answered her. I waited for my son to look at me. He stared at the table. Then she turned, still smiling, and said it plainly. I wasn't coming. I would stay, feed the dogs, watch the baby. No one objected. My son nodded like it had already been decided. My mother-in-law smoothed her napkin and said nothing. I stood there, a plate in my hands, feeling smaller by the second. I wasn't angry. That surprised me. What I felt was a tight, careful pride, like I'd been warned this day would come and had still shown up. I asked one question, quiet and direct. If this is family, why does it start with instructions instead of invitations? No one answered. Another question followed in my head and stayed there. If you can afford Hawaii, why do you need me to cover childcare? The room kept clapping. The answer was already written in their faces. My friend Lena, who'd come out of loyalty more than joy, leaned in and whispered, "Do you want me to say something?" Her voice was low, nervous. I shook my head. "No," I said. "Not tonight." She nodded, relieved and sad at the same time. Here's the part I hate admitting. I felt ashamed that I'd trained myself to be useful instead of visible. Ashamed that my first fear wasn't the insult, it was losing time with my grandson. I saw the signs before. I ignored them. That's on me. They handed me a thick binder, pet schedules, nap times, passwords, like a baton passed to the runner who doesn't get the medal. I took it. They relaxed. The consequence was immediate. Their laughter came back. If you've ever been treated like furniture at your own table, you know this pause. The one where you decide what you'll carry home with you. I didn't speak. I just picked up the binder. She shoved it into my chest like she was handing off a tray. "Everything's in here," she said, with that dry little smile she saves for when she wants to act helpful while putting me in my place. It was color-coded. Tabs for dogs, baby, security, deliveries. Even the Wi-Fi password was laminated. On the front was a post-it note. "Please stick to the routine." As if I were a temp. Not the person who paid off their washer repair in February. $378 at 10:45 a.m. on a Thursday, because their card got declined and they didn't want to delay the cycle. I didn't say anything, just nodded. Took it like it was reasonable, like it was normal to assign a family member tasks by tab color. And just like that, they exhaled. Like I'd confirmed I still knew my role. There was a sheet about medicine for the baby. Dosage down to the milliliter. But no mention of the last time they said thank you. That's when it hit me. Not one instruction required them to check in with me. Just me reporting back to them. I asked once, flat, if this is shared responsibility, where's your part after the plane takes off? She said, "We trust you." Trust. A word they use when they don't want to be responsible for the consequences. That night, Lena called again. "You good?" I told her about the binder. She laughed, but it wasn't kind. "That's not a binder. That's a job description." Then, quieter, she added, "You gonna keep letting them write it?" I didn't answer. Truth is, I'd let them. I'd let the little cuts slide. Told myself family was messy, but messy shouldn't come with footnotes and a feeding schedule. I stayed up later than usual. I didn't flip through photos. I flipped through that binder. Found a tab marked Accounts, Passwords, logins, backup keys. I stared at it a long time. If they trusted me so much, why did they forget to clean that part out? I took it home and didn't say a word. I opened the folder on a Sunday morning, around 9:17 a.m., with a mug of coffee in one hand and their binders spread open across my kitchen counter. The baby monitor was on low in the background, just in case. I wasn't digging for anything. I just wanted to understand what exactly they'd handed me. Tab labeled, Docs, Do Not Touch. Of course I touched it. There it was, a scanned PDF of a loan agreement from May 14th, with my full name typed, my signature at the bottom, and a clause highlighted in yellow. I was the cosigner. A $48,000 business line of credit. Their startup, his name, her signature, and mine. Except I didn't remember signing anything with that number. My stomach dropped. I had signed something back then, yes. They'd rushed me after dinner, said the bank needed a guarantor just to process the paperwork. It was just to speed things up, they said. No risk, no follow-up. No copy ever came. I called Min, my old co-worker who now worked as a loan officer at the credit union, sent her a screenshot. She called me back 10 minutes later and said, "You're on the hook if that goes bad, and it's not in good shape." I leaned on the counter. My hands felt cold. "If they're doing fine," I said slowly, "why is my name still needed for credit?" Min didn't hesitate. "Because you still look reliable on paper. That's what they're borrowing." I should have said no. I should have asked more. I should have read the fine print. Instead, I nodded, smiled, and let them rush me. Because I didn't want to look difficult. Because I still believed that saying yes would mean I mattered. That was the moment I realized I didn't just lose respect. I'd given them a signature they didn't deserve. I forwarded the file to myself. Then I did it again, with a different subject line. And while the coffee was still warm, I opened the next tab. I made them coffee at 6 a.m. sharp, just like she asked. Ground beans, 2 sugars for her, oat milk for him, served in the mugs I'd bought from Target last Christmas. No one said thank you. She adjusted her tote bag, clicked her acrylics against the counter, and handed me the diaper bag like I was the nanny on payroll. Then came the final loadout. Baby in one arm, leash in the other, list of emergency contacts stuck to the fridge. Her voice was breezy. "Oh, and don't let him nap past 10:30. He gets mean." My son gave me a pat on the shoulder, not a hug, a pat. The kind you give someone doing a decent job mopping the floor. I smiled, nodded, said nothing. They pulled out of the driveway in her silver 2021 Toyota RAV4, already laughing before they hit the end of the street. I locked the door behind them and stood still for a second. Not sad, just still. Then I turned the monitor on, checked that the baby was sleeping, and opened my laptop. There's a quiet you only get when nobody expects anything from you. I scrolled back to the loan file, found the lender's number, and started an inquiry chat. I didn't go in swinging. I asked questions. I wrote things down. I stayed polite. Because that's what people expect from women like me. But one line made me stop. As of July 1st, your name remains the active guarantor. No change request has been filed. I typed it out again just to read it back to myself. That night I called my cousin Marianne, the one who works in real estate law. I didn't explain everything. I just asked, if someone signs you onto a loan without explaining it, is that legal? She didn't pause. Not ethical, might not be legal either. But it's common. Happens when people think you won't fight. I wanted to tell her I'd seen the signs, but truth is, I hadn't. Or worse, I had and ignored them, because I thought if I gave enough, they'd stop asking. The baby stirred. I closed the laptop gently and reached for my phone. The bank statement had my name right at the top, dated July 3rd. Not theirs, mine. I remember staring at it, sitting on their couch with my reading glasses fogging up, because the baby had spilled milk on the corner of the screen. I wasn't even trying to snoop. I'd opened the laptop to check a recipe. There it was, a Chase business account summary. Activity tied to a so-called family LLC. But my name? I was the primary contact. I was the credit history. I was the reason their balance was even allowed to exist. Then came the email chain. She hadn't logged out of her Gmail. There were digital receipts, tax returns filed jointly, with me listed as a silent investor. I clicked, scanned, froze. There were emails where she wrote, "Her score covers it. She'll never check. She thinks it's about trust." That line stayed with me. Trust? Is that what they call it now? I called Sandra, a friend I used to teach with who now works at H&R Block. I asked her to meet for coffee at Baker's Brew on Mill Street, just off the highway. I showed her the printouts. She looked over the edge of her glasses and said, "You're not co-managing anything. You're a liability buffer." I just nodded, couldn't get the words out. And I hate to say this, but I felt ashamed. Not angry, ashamed. I used to lecture students about checking their sources, reading the fine print, and I hadn't even noticed my own name being used like spare change, because I thought it was just helping family. But here's the thing. If they had this all under control, why wasn't it in their names? Why did every risk trace back to me? If it's a family business, why am I the only one at risk? Sandra took another sip of her coffee and said, "Print it. All of it. Anything with your name. Make a file." I didn't ask why. I went home, turned on the printer, and watched the tray fill. Page after page. I didn't even stop to breathe before checking the mailbox next. He knew. He signed, too. I found it at 11:58 p.m., sitting at their kitchen table with the overhead light buzzing and my phone charging off the wall. I wasn't even looking for him anymore. I was scrolling through email threads, matching dates, lining things up. Then his name popped up in a reply all chain. Casual, joking, comfortable. "Mom's the backup plan," he wrote, a smiley face after it. Another message followed a week later. "She owes us anyway, after everything we've done." No pushback, no hesitation. He wasn't dragged into this. He was standing right in the middle, making jokes while I carried the risk. I sat there longer than I should have. Read it twice, then a third time, slower. Like maybe I'd misunderstood the tone. I hadn't. There was no anger in his words. That was the worst part. Just usefulness, like I was a tool they kept in a drawer. If he could pay the loan himself, why did he need my credit? If this was family, why was every favor tracked and every risk assigned to me? Those questions didn't need answers anymore. The answers were already in writing. I texted Lena a screenshot, no explanation. She called me right away. "I'm sorry," she said. Just that. No advice, no lecture. It helped more than anything else she could have said. Here's where I have to be honest. I felt stupid. Not weak. Stupid. I defended him for years. Told people he meant well. Told myself he was under pressure. I wanted to believe love covered intention. I was wrong. Love doesn't erase signatures. I thought about my grandson asleep in the next room and felt that familiar fear rise. If I push back, do I lose him? That fear kept me quiet longer than I want to admit. It's hard to fight someone who knows exactly what you're afraid of. I closed the laptop, sat back in the chair. My hands were shaking. Not with fear, with choice. I called Jared, my son's old college roommate. We hadn't spoken in years. He was the quiet one, thoughtful. He used to sleep on our couch during finals week. Always said thank you. Always offered to do dishes. Now he had a law degree, a solo practice, and, last I heard, a reputation for being blunt. I texted, "Need 20 minutes. No drama, just facts." He replied, "Coffee or phone?" We met at Crenshaw and Main, the coffee place next to the post office. I brought a file folder. I didn't bother with pleasantries. I laid out the loan copy, the emails, the tax form with my name scribbled in, and the email where my son called me the backup plan. He read in silence, tapped his finger once on the edge of the page, then said, "If you stay quiet, the default's on you, not them." I blinked. "Even though it's their business?" He shrugged. "Doesn't matter. You signed. It's legal." I felt my stomach twist. "So if I walk away now and they tank it, the bank comes after me?" He nodded. "First thing they'll do. You're the cleanest record in the file." That stung, more than it should have. I had worked decades to rebuild my credit after my husband passed, paid everything down, lived below my means, skipped vacations, made every car payment on time. And this is what it bought me. Being first in line to take the hit for someone else's ambition. I looked at Jared and said, "If this is family, why was I never told the truth?" He didn't flinch. "Because they knew you'd say no." I wanted to cry, but it wasn't sadness. It was something colder, not just betrayal. I'd been used on paper. He closed the folder slowly and asked, "Do you want to do this the quiet way?" I didn't answer right away. I was still picturing my grandson's face at breakfast. I wore gloves when I touched the printer, partly because the toner smudged, partly because I didn't want to leave fingerprints. Not in the dramatic way, just clean. It was July 9th, almost 10:40 p.m., and the house was dead quiet. I had a folder open, a spreadsheet beside me, and a flash drive plugged into the side of my old laptop. I listed everything: emails, tax filings, messages, loan docs, timestamps. Labeled each file. I didn't write a long explanation. I didn't need to. The paper spoke for itself. I created 2 copies, one for the State Financial Fraud Unit and one for a backup drive I locked in my fireproof box under the bed. No threats, no accusations, just evidence. Then I visited a secure legal reporting site Jared recommended and uploaded the folder anonymously. It asked for contact info. I typed in a Gmail I'd created just for this. Nothing traceable, nothing messy. Just the truth. You ever notice how nobody's scared of you until you start documenting? I paused at the send button. Thought of my son's face the last time he said, "We're family, Mom. We're building something." But if you're really building with someone, why hide the bricks? Why leave one name off the company papers, but put it front and center on the debt? I didn't cry, but I did feel a pinch of shame in my chest, because the truth is, I saw signs long ago. That time they used my Costco card without asking. That time she said, "You're lucky to be part of our growth." I laughed along. I should have said something then. Before I shut the lid, I texted Lena. "It's done." She wrote back, "Quiet moves. I'm proud of you." No emoji. Just that. The next morning, I got a confirmation email. "Submission received. Under review. Case number assigned." I didn't reply. I just marked it starred, closed the inbox, and checked the baby monitor. I left the binder on the marble counter, open to the dog feeding schedule. The brass filing cabinet key sat on top, right where she'd dropped her lip gloss 3 nights ago. Neat, quiet, no drama. I didn't want her to say I'd trashed the place. I wanted silence to speak for itself. Next to the binder, I placed the envelope. Inside, copies of every document with my name on it, 1-page summaries for the IRS and state attorney's office, and a typed line at the bottom. I will not carry what isn't mine. No threats, just facts. The fridge still held half a bottle of oat milk and leftover sushi from Sunday. I left it. I packed only one duffel bag, the one I'd bought at Target in early June, $36.99, navy with yellow trim. Fitting, I thought. It was supposed to be for babysitting weekends. I used it to leave instead. Before walking out, I looked at the baby monitor one last time. He was napping, holding that tattered green elephant I'd stitched when he turned 1. That part almost broke me. Not because of him, but because I wouldn't get to explain to him why I left. At least, not yet. You know what people like them would say? You could have just talked to us. But how do you talk to someone who sees your name as collateral? If I was family, why did everything start with me signing things, not being asked things? As I locked the door behind me, Nora, the neighbor from across the street, waved from her porch. "Taking a break?" she asked. I just nodded. She smiled, lowered her sunglasses. "Good. They take too much from you." She didn't know the half of it. Or maybe she did. At 5:10 p.m., I dropped the house key in the mailbox and walked to the curb. I didn't take the old Civic. I ordered a rideshare, paid in cash. When the driver asked for my name, I gave him the one on my backup phone. I turned off my phone. I turned on a new one. I was drinking black coffee out of a chipped white mug when the news segment ran. It was 7:03 a.m., July 11th. Quiet apartment, no voices yelling over cartoons, no baby crying, just the sound of a fan rattling in the window and a news anchor reading off audit notices filed against 8 high-income households in the tri-state area. My name didn't come up. Good. That meant it was working. The next thing was predictable. Calls, texts, voicemails. First from my son. "Mom, we need to talk." Then from her. "What did you do?" Then silence. Then another round, louder. "You're ruining the family." That word again. Family. If I was part of it, why was I always the one signing everything and owning nothing? Why did family mean I got the fallout and they got the upgrades? They said I was selfish. "We were going to pay it back," she wrote. Really? Then why was my credit history used without asking? Why did the emergency contact line on the tax filings list me, but the business name list only them? I ignored the calls. I went for a walk around the block, just 2 loops, enough to pass the same corner store twice. Bought a granola bar and a small orange juice, $5.35. Paid in cash. First time in years, no one looked over my shoulder while I paid for something. Lena, my old co-worker, texted after seeing the audits trending on Twitter. "Is that them?" she wrote. I replied with a smiley face and nothing else. She just sent back, "Proud of you. They always treated you like an option." That hit me harder than I expected. Because she was right, and I'd let it happen for too long. Not because I was stupid, because I didn't want to lose my son, or my grandson, or what I thought might one day change. But it didn't. Now, I'm renting a small place in Queens, above a bakery. My name's on the lease. My name's clean. I eat breakfast alone. I sleep through the night. And no, I never fed their dog again.